Okay.
Ready.
So we do have a couple of people here. Looks like Dan Musselman and Rachel Regalado and Lucy Pritchard are all here. So hello, everyone, and thank you so much for attending this Lamont admission webinar. I'm Angela Mitchell. I'm the enrollment specialist for the school, aka the recruiter. And we have a really great panel of folks on hand to answer questions that you may have. We're, getting later in here in the season, and this invite went out to admitted students and their parents, I believe, right, Stephen? Yeah. So this is a pretty specific group of people. So you've received your admission letters, and you may have some questions before you are ready to hit accept on that admission offer. So I just first want to introduce everybody that we have on hand. So just going clockwise on my screen, we have Professor Jack Sheinbaum, who is actually Associate Director of Academic Affairs here at Lamont, and he also teaches musicology. And then we have Stephen Campbell, the Director of Lamont Admission. And then Patrick Hyatte is a student. He is a first year master's student studying violin. He also works in the office as well. He's a PR student worker. And then finally, last but not least, we have Director Keith Ward here on hand. So we've got a real all-star team here. So let's first. So we would like you all who are here who have questions. We want you to lead the discussion. We want to hear your questions, and then we'll answer depending on what the question is about. So please utilize the Q&A function there and get your questions in, and we will answer as much as we can. And then I see we have one more student who's trying to join. She just texted me, so I'm going to just let her in. Give me one moment. And if anyone else has anything to say while I'm working on that, please go right ahead.
What I think I'd like to chime in. And what I'd like to say is congratulations. I want to congratulate you on your admission to the Lamont School of Music, to all of the work that you have done in getting ready to begin your studies in college. And we are looking forward very much that they would be at Lamont. The fact that you are at this webinar right now shows the seriousness of your purpose, and we would like to we'd like to provide you with as much detail as we can of any questions that you may have had that have come up since your audition, or anything that comes up during this conversation. But we're really glad you're here, and we're really looking forward to conversing with you.
And we have another panelist who has just joined us. Paige Newman is a freshman composition major, and she is also one of our wonderful student workers in the admission office. Hi, Paige. All right. So, okay, get those questions going in the Q&A, and we've got one already. So, so Cass is asking, as a voice major, will we be able to audition for musicals, or are those for theater majors only? And then, how frequently are musicals done? Great question. We get that question, fairly often. Yes, you can absolutely audition for musicals. So I haven't been at Lamont since we've put on a musical. But I understand that it happens every few years or so, and it's a collaboration with the theater department. And voice majors are absolutely encouraged to audition for it. Does anyone else who has been here longer than me remember how often the musicals are done?
I know there was a stretch of time where it was almost annual, but in
over the last 5 or 6 years, I think there were kind of main stage productions. I'm trying to remember. I think there was a Guys and Dolls production, a production of Oklahoma, which was really very, very fine, um, and a production of South Pacific. And I also remember sort of the theater department with plenty of music students in, doing production of Urinetown, doing a production of Fiddler on the Roof. So yeah, I mean a fair number of musicals. So it's not I wouldn't say that there is kind of like a predictable regularity to musicals, but definitely quite occasionally.
Yeah. And you should know, Cass, too, that the Lamont Voice Department does a fully staged opera every year in the spring. This year it's a little different because of COVID and restrictions, and how dangerous it is to be a singer. You're putting out a lot of saliva, so you have to be very careful. So we are doing the Magic Flute in just about 2 weeks, and it is going to be like a semi-stage concert version of it. But yeah, that's coming up. I'm gonna go hunt for I'm gonna get the events calendar link and stick that in the chat. So while we are still not holding performances with audiences in them, just about everything is streamed. So that's really exciting. So, that actually opens it up a little bit more to even more people, because in the, previously you had to be here to see it. So I'm gonna put this in the chat. Yeah, okay, so the next question is from Lucy, and she wants to hear from the students. What is the student environment like at Lamont? Are the students driven? How many are music majors versus non-majors? So Patrick or Paige, you want to take that?
Sure, I can answer that. Just from what I know, all of my colleagues are very fine musicians, and the time that I've got to spend with them, I've learned a lot. They are very driven, and I'd say in studio, there's always someone prepared to play very, difficult things they've been working on for the past quarter or so. To music majors versus non-music majors, I haven't met any non-music majors. I've heard, that there are a few, but the most part, I interact with music majors.
And Patrick is a grad student, so he might have a slightly different experience from Paige in that respect.
Oh, I'll also know that since I am a first-year student, I'm not really sure, what the environment is like pre-COVID. So that also adds to it.
I'm also a first-year student, and as an undergrad, so most of my experience has been COVID related as well. But the environment among my graduating class specifically is very supportive. We've got ye old group chat going, and there's a high drive. I have a lot of friends who are music majors that drag me to the practice rooms and encourage me to do stuff outside of my major. And it's a really great community. It's one of the things that brought me to Lamont as well, is that the community is just so supportive and driven. And there are non-music majors. I know of a couple who participate in music courses. In the comp department, there's people who take lessons that aren't necessarily a music major, and like ensembles like the steel drum ensemble, there's quite a few non-music majors that are still able to pursue their interest in music. And yeah, it's a great community, and hopefully as COVID kind of rounds out, the COVID experience rounds out, we get to see it more often.
And I'll jump in really quickly to talk a bit about the numbers on that, right? So both of our students answered that they had met non-music majors or hadn't, in Patrick's case, met non-music majors. And I'd point out that while we have music majors at Lamont and minors, there are about 40 minors, 30 to 40 minors at any given time that are kind of participating in different things throughout their program. There, of course, is a whole non-music school, right? Just so we don't forget about our whole university. there are about 6,000 undergrads, 6,000 grads, and Patrick would not interact with them as much as a grad student, being a little more focused, solely music classes for him. Similarly, he wouldn't interact with minors as much either, unless they happen to be in an ensemble that he's in, since minors would take undergraduate coursework. Paige, are you able to say anything about your interaction with non-music majors outside of Lamont's building? So in common curriculum, FSEM, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So yeah, it's especially in your first year, you're taking a lot of prerequisites for your music degree. So you're around music majors a lot, but I've definitely been in writing classes, society classes, my FSEM, surrounded, and in your living spaces, if you live on campus, surrounded by non-music majors, which is nice as well, to make friends in different majors. Yeah, and it's great so far, my experience with that. Although COVID has impacted it a little bit, yeah, it's been really great, and there's plenty of opportunities to meet friends from all over the campus, not just music majors, although there is such a great community here as well.
All right. Thank you, guys. Dan Musselman asks, what different types of music degrees are available at Lamont? So I can take that one. So Dan, we've got 5 different iterations of undergrad degrees to choose from. So there's the Bachelor of Music in Composition, the Bachelor of Music in Jazz Studies, the BM in Performance, and the BM in Recording and Production. And then we also have the Bachelor of Arts in Music. So the difference between each of those Bachelor of Music degrees is pretty, self-explanatory: composition versus performance versus jazz studies. Recording and production, this is a unique degree here because it combines a performance degree, a music degree, with learning how to be an audio engineer. So you're learning all the ropes about how to engineer recordings and develop an ear for that. You're also learning how to be a musician along the way. You're taking lessons and participating in ensembles, taking music theory and music history, and all along the way you're taking your recording and production classes. We feel that that's what makes the best recording engineer, is one who is also trained in music. So you can, for example, listen through something that you just recorded and tell if the trombones are out of tune, or tell if the flutes were early in this bar, things like that. So you can be very useful. The Bachelor of Arts in Music, compared to the different Bachelor of Music degrees, it is less musically intensive in that you have fewer credits coming from music classes than you do from other classes. So you have fewer lessons, fewer ensemble requirements. That leaves you room in your schedule to perhaps do another major in something else non-music, or a couple of minors. It has that kind of flexibility and is often very appealing to folks who might want to double major and still graduate in 4 years. Now, Dan, I'm not sure if you were also wondering about our grad programs, but let me give a quick overview of the grad programs that we offer. So we offer the Master of Music degree. That would be in performance and in composition. That is typically a 2-year full-time degree. We also offer it in piano pedagogy and Suzuki pedagogy. So you're going to be a lot more focused in on music, and Patrick can tell you, and any of us on this call that have the Master of Music degree can tell you, it's you're not going to have very many, if any, non-music classes unless they're like elective requirements. And then you have, we also have the Artist Diploma, which is our terminal degree. And this is even more focused on either performance or conducting. So it's often, used as a you're polishing things off before you head out and get ready for auditions or that kind of thing. sometimes a bridge to a Doctor of Musical Arts degree. And then we offer a range of certificate programs at the grad level in conducting, in performance, in jazz studies, as well as in Suzuki pedagogy. And then a couple of new areas, music theory pedagogy, and music entrepreneurship. So these certificate programs, they're part-time typically. I did one myself last year. It was awesome. It consisted of, I did the performance certificate. It consisted of lessons and ensemble participation, really focused and great for somebody who is working full-time or part-time. Yeah, so those are the grad programs available. Oh, I missed one. We also offer a certificate in orchestral studies. So that's going to really focus on getting like orchestral repertoire ready for auditions, more lessons and ensemble requirements. So a real range of things that we offer at the grad level, and a comprehensive undergraduate selection as well. Okay. And my colleagues, please feel free to jump in if I missed one.
I'll put in a plug also, right? We also have a Master of Arts degree, right, in both music theory and musicology, my area. So there are a couple of different MA possibilities. And also, I mean, just if we're trying to be complete about it, right, Angela, I don't know if you mentioned that we have an MM program in conducting as well.
MM in conducting, indeed. Yeah, so conducting is available at all three of those levels: artist diploma, certificate, and Master of Music. All right. Ryan is asking, what sorts of opportunities does Lamont give its students outside of academics? He's going to be a recording and production major. Yeah, okay. So Ryan, I would say that you're going to be required to do an internship as a recording and production major in your senior year. And our faculty will be great resources for you in connecting you to finding that internship. And then you're going to, I think, find yourself awash in opportunities to record your fellow students. And then, yeah, I think in terms of like, so you're wondering about outside of academics. So I'm just trying to think of like, you know, in a general sense, when you come to college, one of the biggest things you're going to be getting is the connections, the people that you meet. You're going to be working with a very esteemed faculty who have professional connections in the community, and those will be invaluable to you as you are in school, as well as when you're approaching graduation and it's time to start, you know, making that next decision about where you're going to work or if you're going to go get another degree. So yeah, I think that's what I would add to that. Do my colleagues want to add anything?
I mean, I guess one thing that comes to mind is just seeing how so many students, I mean, really outside of the university, are actively gigging as professional musicians in town. I mean, almost from the very beginning. And so it's really cool as I, you know, just like every day I'm going through like my social media stuff and just seeing like how many students are just, you know, actively performing, and often performing with faculty members as well. So in the jazz studies program in particular, I mean, you'll see that like at the best jazz clubs in town, and there are kind of groups where it's, you know, there's faculty members and students kind of performing together, which is great. And then I don't know if part of what you were thinking about also was, let's say, outside of specific academic classes, but all the music making that's just kind of going on just on a regular daily basis. And so there's just a ton of it that most students in most programs, or all students in almost all the programs, are required to be playing in multiple ensembles and various levels. And so really what's going on like in a ordinary day as you walk through the halls is there's just tons of music making going on everywhere, all day long, all evening long. I mean, the number of performances that get put on, I mean, even during this year, with COVID going on, I mean, it's amazing how each quarter there are just sort of like dozens and dozens of performances that are happening at all these different levels.
Yeah, and in fact, in the fall quarter, we streamed 52 events In the winter quarter, we streamed 62 events. In this quarter, the spring quarter, we are scheduled to stream over 100 events. All this done within the challenge of COVID. Of course, we would love it if we were performing to live audiences as well, such as Jack Scheinbaum's background of Gates Recital Hall and Concert Hall, I should say, and my background is Hamilton Concert Hall. So we're looking forward to those spaces having people in them next year, along with the concerts that will be streamed for them as well.
I'd also throw out there, Jack and Angela both kind of mentioned it tangentially, but in terms of gigging in the area, we have a service, a hiring musician service that is run by actually High School in Patrick's office, where we're connecting community members who are looking to hire musicians for whatever event. Think a string quartet for a wedding, for example. They'll reach out to Lamont, Ian will connect them with students, and that's a paying gig right out of the gate. That is a very active service in non-COVID times, of course. I always think about violinists. I get that question from violinists a lot, like Patrick, and they're working all the time. Now, of course, it's COVID time this year. There are fewer of those events. And I'd welcome either student, Paige or Patrick, to jump in about this sort of thing during COVID. But one other thing I would just point out is that you're in a relatively close community of no more than 300 music students. And even beyond the performance opportunities that Professor Sheinbaum mentioned that are curricular requirements, there's music making happening just informally, right? That students who are together and love making music and are surrounded by others that are passionate about making music are just going to make music, right? Put together groups, jam. I remember we had a jazz trumpet player work in my office a year ago, just saying how he lived with a bunch of other jazzers and they played all the time. Now, that may not be exactly the point of your question, but I think it's useful it's nice to remember that the community, the environment is really so musically focused and so open to collaboration.
It's also one of the advantages of being in a city like Denver.
Yeah.
Denver is a city of, just the city itself has a population of over 700,000. And if you include the entire metropolitan area, it's an area of almost 2 million. And so it's a place where the arts are vibrant. And so the opportunity one has, as Professor Sheinbaum was describing, of either students performing or performing with faculty in some gigs. But there's just a lot happening in the arts in Denver in the metropolitan area.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to Stephen's point. I've actually benefited from, being enrolled at DU. I've gotten a couple gigs through Ian and through colleagues. So that was really refreshing because in my undergrad, I didn't really experience, gigs that were funneled through my institution. So it was really nice to see. Sorry, that's my little dog. He's trying to get a treat. And then I also wanted to segue into convocation because I know that we often have guest artists that are, it's very easy for students to connect with them or ask questions about, certain things regarding, what your major is or focus is. So I'd also like to point that out that at convocations, there are opportunities to connect with artists that, come from all over the globe.
Kind of adding that, specifically with recording production and composition, are two studios that can really continue to provide opportunities outside of performance, outside of gigging during COVID, because a lot of what we do happens on a computer. And so like with the composition department, that's kind of benefited in a weird way from COVID because we can have, even on convocation, guest artists, or in seminar, guest composers, guest artists, and guest ensembles. Even last quarter, we had the Now Ensemble that did a residency here. So my professors specifically, and I know as a Lamont as a whole, have been really great about forwarding and encouraging opportunities like that. to students of all years, all majors. So, in the digital world, it's been really nice to see how Lamont has kept those opportunities for its students.
All right, thank you guys. Dan is asking, what kind of classes would a BA in music take in his or her freshman year? Great question. Yeah, the freshman year, the first year isn't going to be super different from a performance major, but let me just let me give you a sense of what you'd be taking. So you would take your first year seminar, which is something non-music. It's going to be, there's a whole range of topics that you can choose, and it's going to introduce you to new people. It's Paige, what was your first year seminar? What did you do?
I actually had a music first year. There's plenty of options, and I was looking at it. There was a knot tying one. There's one about like mountaineering, and for some reason, I chose the music one with director Martin of the Wind Ensemble. But it was, I forget the exact name of it. It was a very complicated name, but essentially it was studying the use of Western art and music to express the human condition and emotions. But yeah, I know plenty of crazy first year seminars that aren't music related, but I happen to take the one music related one.
Did you say knot tying?
Yes, there was a seminar on knot tying. I almost took it just to see what that would look like, but yes, knot tying.
That's awesome. All right, so first year seminar, that's a 4-credit class. You'll also take music theory and oral skills. You'll take an ensemble every quarter. You'll take, not necessarily every quarter, but you will likely take an ensemble in your first year. You'll be taking your applied lessons. And Dan, as one thing to note here, as a BA student, you're taking 2-credit half-hour lessons for 2 years rather than 1-hour 4-credit lessons for 4 years. You will also take some writing classes that are required by the Common Curriculum, and you will still have a little bit of room left in your schedule to possibly take 1 or 2 elective courses, or maybe some more Common Curriculum classes as well. All right.
I dropped in the chat, I don't know if you all saw, a program sheet for the Bachelor of Arts in Music, and it'll show you, Dan, the kind of the allotment for music credits that degree requires, and the allotment for non-music Common Curriculum credits and non-credit requirements as well. I think one thing I would just throw out there, and Angela, you mentioned this when you were talking about the degrees, one of the huge benefits of the BA program, as distinct from the Bachelor of Music, is that it allows for a ton more flexibility to explore other areas outside of music, right? We require only 70 credits in the major versus the 132 for the Bachelor of Music. So there's far more flexibility. You're required to have a minor. And so while that first year is still quite heavy music, the entirety of the degree includes much more flexibility to explore other interests outside of music.
All right, so keep those questions coming, and for the moment, I wanted to just pivot to one thing that comes up a lot right now, which is, can I visit the university? So obviously, this is something that people want to do. I mean, it's hard to make a decision without coming and actually checking out the campus, right? So I'm going to put this in the chat, and then I'm going to share my screen because I want to go over what those options are for you to visit campus. So this is technically directed. This site is directed at undergrads, but grads, you can look at this too. So first of all, we've got going on right now, Journey to DU. This is, we have transitioned essentially our orientation for all about DU to a whole online format. So you can, click through here and learn all about the very many aspects of life as a DU student. You can learn about study abroad, what the residence halls are like, the kind of support resources available to you, etc. You do need to register, so you'll want to click on those that link to do so. We have these hour-long information sessions, and they will be designed specifically for admitted students. What can you expect after you come here and deposit at DU? Everything to prepare you for your arrival. We have a couple of different virtual tour options. So you see here, we've got this direct from DU live stream campus tour. So that is live with a current student. You get to see residence halls, you get to see spaces that you wouldn't normally get to see. And this 360-degree virtual tour, which is self-guided. And let me just pause and say, unfortunately, we don't have ways for you to go inside, physically go inside buildings right now. This open doors at DU is a chance to go inside. It's happening. There's one more of these on April 17th, but I believe it's full, unfortunately. But keep checking if you really want to go in, physically go inside buildings. That is the only way to do it right now. The self-guided spotlight tour. So this is an outdoor in-person tour. It's self-guided, but there are students stationed around campus that you can have real face time with a student and ask questions. Similar to that, but without any students being around, is the self-guided outside tour. So you can get a PDF brochure that you'll take you around campus. And there's also an audio version of that as well. We have a Wednesday webinar series on a whole range of topics like student clubs, the support services available to you, athletics, other kinds of professional development resources. And then, we are also available just on an ad hoc basis as well. So you can chat with your admissions counselor here, and then find us on social media. And then we, of course, have all of these pre-recorded webinars available for you to watch. And from a Lamont perspective, we are available. We're just a phone call or an email away. Stephen and I are constantly meeting over Zoom or on the phone with students. And we would love to chat with you as well if you want to, ask some specific questions. We are very happy to speak with you. So, and then I'll also put in the chat, we made a virtual tour specific to the Newman Center. And one second. There it is. I'm going to grab that for you and put that in the chat. And it essentially replicates the exact tour that you would get in person if you came to us and visited. We go into all of the rehearsal spaces, the classrooms, the performance spaces, and as well as the beautiful Joy Burns Plaza. You get to see the practice rooms on the 5th floor. So this is so handy. I love this background I have. I can point to things. So this is the 5th floor. This is where the practice rooms are. And I just want to point this out because this is kind of unique. We have windows in our practice rooms, and that is a real good thing. Yeah, right? Because you're maybe spending hours upon hours in there, and it's nice to have a little bit of light. And some of these have really, really nice views of the Rockies as well. So okay, we've got a question from Bruno.
Andrew, if I could just chime in for a second to first give a plug for the video, which is really terrific, and to thank Angela, give a shout out to Angela because she is the one who produced and directed and wrote the entire video. There are some things that also I would add that go beyond the video. For example, in the video you'll see the control room for our recording program. I should also mention that there's even a second recording studio as well. It's actually a post-production studio. You're seeing the main recording production studio, and then there's a post-production studio. We also have a number of studios for electronic music over in a place called Wesley Hall. There are 3 different places over there. And while you will see the Gates Concert Hall, there's even if we went on a Cook's tour, even behind the scenes, you'd be able to see the multiple dressing rooms, the green rooms, the pit, and the like. So it's a wonderful tour and gives you a great sampling. And there's so much more we wish we could show you as well. But it's a, as you can see, it's a facility that we're very proud of. It's a terrific space to work in. So
Yes.
that's up, Angela.
And it's my voice hosting it as well, so you'll hear me on there. I saw that Chas was asking about study abroad options. Yes, so study abroad is a huge deal at DU. We have a very robust study abroad program. Stephen has just shared it in the chat. And if I may, I'm going to just share my screen again, and I want to show you the programs available for music. So you can explore that link, and you can search, and you can put in parameters for what exactly you're looking for. So I put in under areas of study, I selected the 3 music ones available, which are composition, music, and then jazz and commercial music. So this is what it came back with. So look at all of these. So you can go to, it's just like all over the world, but just to give you a sense of the kinds of programs available, as you see, you can go to Glasgow, you can go to South Africa, Australia, Salzburg. I know we had some students do some of these. I know we had one go to Perugia. You can go all over the place. I would highly recommend that you check this out if this is something that you're interested in doing. We have arrangements with all of these programs so that you aren't going to pay higher tuition to attend them. You pay the same tuition that you would pay to go to DU. And they are just really, it's just a fantastic opportunity. I myself did not study abroad, but I know that our students who did, they come back with amazing stories, and if it's something that you can work out in your own schedule, we encourage you to do it. We support you in that. We work with you to make sure that the program is going to also keep you on track to your degree program. So one good thing is that if you find a program you want to go to that doesn't exactly offer what you need, so like maybe you've picked a program and everything is looking great, but they don't have a violin professor for some reason, DU will work with you and work with that program to find you a violin teacher in that city, so you can get your violin lessons. So yeah, do you guys want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, the follow-up on that last point, Angela, is that you get those violin lessons and you get credit for them, right? So you don't, not only do you not stagnate, right? You actually continue to make progress towards your degree. That is a huge deal for music programs. I don't know if this was Angela's case, but many music students don't study abroad because they come to study with a specific faculty member. They don't want to miss out on a term of lessons to study abroad. And I think that DU and Lamont have really found a wonderful solution for that. Over 70% of our student body, not specific to Lamont, but DU as a whole, do study abroad, which consistently ranks DU in like the top 5 schools in the nation for study abroad participation. And one of the reasons for that is, as Angela mentioned, the Sherrington Global Scholars Program smooths that transition. They apply your scholarship and tuition to your study abroad program, so nothing changes with your bill. They also help with travel costs and the like. So there are a lot of opportunities, over 150 affiliated programs that you can study abroad at. And many of the ones that Angela just showed you have music opportunities. So this is one of those things that we are extremely proud of, and many of our students will take advantage of it. Paige, I hope you take advantage of it in a couple of years. It's usually first quarter of junior year, and Jack, Lamont's student advisor, Rachel Lim, and myself will sit down every fall to talk with students about kind of the process, make sure that everything is smooth and orderly. I think I hit everything. Jack, was there anything else you wanted to mention from your perspective?
No, I mean, that was great. You know, I was just thinking about the reason why DU Study Abroad program is one of the finest in the country. Part of it is just the percentage of students that go, but the other part of it, as you were both saying, is the advising and the resources that go into it, so that each student, including music students that have these challenging requirements to keep track of, still have a very smooth experience and can do what they need to do and everything they want to do while they're abroad, and still be able to graduate on time without any issue. Yeah.
Okay, I saw a question from Bruno asking about using the sports facilities and recreation. Yeah, so we have really, really beautiful facilities. There's the what's it called? The Ritchie Center is where the gym is. It's gorgeous. You also have access to the Coors Fitness Center and the natatorium, the pool, as well as the Joy Burns Arena. And one thing to note is that we have a whole bunch of intramural sports that you can get involved in, as well as club sports. We have 29 club teams. So I'm going to put those links, that link in the chat for you, Bruno. You can check it out. You can get a membership at the gym, and that's available to you. You can work out in between practice sessions or whatever you need, whatever your schedule is. So I'm going to just put that in the chat, and you can have a look at that. The gym membership, it is for, I don't believe for grad students, and please correct me if I'm wrong. You do have to pay extra. Is that right? If you're a grad student, Patrick? No? Hey, how about that?
Yeah, I actually have a membership there too. So I use it.
As long as you're full-time. You'd be full-time enrolled. First, certificate students, unfortunately, are not full-time enrolled and have to pay a little extra.
There you go. Yeah, Paige or Patrick, have either of you gotten involved in any of that, like the club teams or intramural sports or anything like that?
I haven't personally gotten into any sports clubs or anything, but I have used the gym a couple times, and it's a great facility to work out and stay fit, keep your mind healthy.
Great.
I have not either, but I've heard from other people who have gone to the gym that it's really nice facilities.
The overlap of athletes and musicians is not always very big,
I think it's a time constraint thing, all right? They're in ensembles, they're practicing, there are things going on.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
All right. Dan was asking, what are some examples of student jobs at DU? I'm going to pull up the student jobs website so I can get that link for you. Paige or Patrick, you are both student workers. Would you like to talk briefly about your jobs?
Sure. So I love my job. It's a great job. I am a work study student, and I actually work for the admissions office at Lamont. And some of my responsibilities include this webinar. Recently, I've been calling students, writing letters, and packaging boxes, at pretty much anything Angela or Steven need. I'm there to help with. I also do some of the social media work. So yeah, I have a pretty sweet job.
Yeah, Lamont's Instagram is almost entirely run by Paige, and she does an amazing job.
If you want her real response, you can email her later. She's glowing about it now, but both of her supervisors are sitting right here. So yeah, I'm sure she'll give you the dirt later on.
Oh, there's no dirt.
And for me, I work in the public relations office, which is, right next to the admissions office. And some of my responsibilities are, organizing and curating programs for a lot of the performances that go on at DU. So a lot of student recitals, we are, there's a team of us that work together to create those so that they're all organized and, look uniform. And then we also do like the major productions of, orchestra, wind ensembles, opera, theater, etc. So we're all on top of that, and it's a good job.
One note about student employment that you'll probably see on the link that Angela dropped into the chat. The vast majority of student employment opportunities on campus require a federal work-study award. And so that requires you to submit the FAFSA. So if you have not done that, or you weren't awarded one, reach out to the Office of Financial Aid. They often have wait lists for those. There are more, students that are eligible for it than there are positions. So when those get turned down, they're there, and you should reach out to financial aid to ask more about that. But there are also opportunities in the link that Angela sent for on-campus employment that does not require work study. And then of course, based on where we are, right, in just south of downtown, and we're still in a relatively, there's a commercial district right there. There are opportunities to work not on campus, but practically on campus, just right off campus. These have been great questions so far, folks. That's great.
Yeah.
There are a couple more in there. We have a little more time.
Yeah. Yeah, just on the student employment topic, I will say it's a great thing if you have time in your schedule to do it. Yeah, I myself worked all through college as well. My one of my college jobs was working in admission, actually. So, and that helped me get this job. So, yeah, it's just really great yeah, student worker jobs don't have to be like brainless filing or whatever. Like you can absolutely acquire skills in these jobs, and most of them, in fact, as a student worker supervisor, we are counseled and trained that it is important that we do provide a meaningful experience for our student workers. So, Paige is going to come away with, like, she's going to be an Instagram pro. You are going to be so hireable by companies just for that. And Patrick, like you're getting all these skills, like, attention to detail and how to put together a concert program and what are the guidelines with that. And that is, it's so useful. And I'm just thinking about other jobs I had in college. I had I had an internship in college for a American public media radio station, and that led to working in radio for like 7 years. So yeah, college jobs are so good, and it really can give you a leg up on the competition. So
yeah, I'd add to that, Angela. If any of you have tuned into the financial aid webinars that we've done, you will have heard me say this already. But one of the things it can do for music students, and it did for me as an undergrad and graduate student, is open up the world of music somewhat, right? You come in often to undergrad and grad with a relatively narrow definition of what it means to work in the music industry. And sometimes having that work study job in the admission office or the concert office, PR office, may open up your eyes to some of the options to make a living in music, like many of us are in administrative roles.
Okay, Lucy's asking, what is the university like in relation to Denver as a city in terms of access to the city, transportation, and activities? Yeah, I'll let our students say a little bit more of that. You want to go for it, Patrick?
Sure. So I actually live downtown Denver, and it's not too much of a hassle to get to campus. I take the train, which is about 25 minutes. And then the walk from the train station to Lamont is also not that bad. There's also a bus option. So the transportation here in Denver is really nice, and it makes it super easy to get around. There's plenty of attractions downtown, and also on campus, there are a lot of attractions. I haven't personally been there to see a lot of, the restaurants and shops and things like that on campus, but I hear there are a lot, and likewise for downtown.
Yeah, so I live on the other side of that commute. I'm on campus, but I know at least all undergrads get a light rail pass, and there's a light rail stop right off campus. So so if you ever get sick of what's around, if you're living on campus and you ever get sick of what's around campus, it's a pretty easy light rail ride into Denver, and the opportunities are there's pretty much everything in Denver you could think of. So I'm sure, again, once COVID gets a little bit better, yeah, there's plenty to do in Denver, and great opportunities to get off campus and go do that stuff.
Yeah, I'd also like to add, if you're an outdoorsy person or you like to hike a lot like I do, that is also accessible through the RTD, which is the Denver Transportation System. Super fun to do with friends, and I would totally recommend doing things like that as well.
Yeah, you can be in the Rocky Mountain National Park within like an hour if traffic is good. So it's a really amazing location, Lucy. Denver is situated where the Rocky Mountains end and the Great Plains begin. So again, there's the Rocky Mountains and they're right there. And as Patrick said, if you're into the outdoors, this is just the place to be. Just world-class hiking, world-class skiing, just hours away. So it's really a really beautiful place. The weather is amazing. It's mostly sunny all the time. So if you're coming from the Midwest or something, you'll love it like I did. Oh, okay. So Dan is asking about, so for the BA in music, yes, your lessons and ensemble requirements are lower, but you are more than welcome to go beyond that and do more lessons, do more ensembles as your schedule allows. Okay. I saw we had a question in the chat.
Yeah, I actually threw an answer to that question in the chat. Rachel asked about, and I realize you probably didn't see the question because it came just to panelists. How does the quarter system work with study abroad, and do most music students study abroad for 1 quarter? And so that answer I threw in the chat was to that question. And Jack, feel free to jump in on a curricular standpoint if I didn't get everything in this chat. But most music students leave in fall. DU's quarter is 10 weeks, and so you're actually typically going to a semester system university abroad, and so you get 15 weeks of instruction in the time you would have gotten only 10 at DU's fall quarter. And so you'll end up transferring back more credits, both because of the transit. So this is maybe getting into the weeds too much, but every semester credit is worth 1.5 quarter credits. So when you transfer it back, you'll actually end up making credit progress. I also mentioned that music students only study abroad for 1 quarter. Studying abroad for longer requires additional approval. So I think we've done that maybe twice in my recent memory. So it's most common for music students to study abroad for 1 quarter.
Oh, Patrick, I just saw that your message went to panelists. Just a heads up. All right. Okay, so let's any more questions? We've got about 5 or 6 minutes more while we wait for the last few questions in. Do any of my colleagues or our students here have anything they want to share? Final thoughts? Oh, I thought of one question we're getting a lot is DU going to be in person and open in the fall? Well, the good news is we are in person currently with COVID protocols in place. We do have in-person classes going on. The last I saw was that the goal for the university is to have 90% of our students vaccinated before the fall quarter begins. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is to have, ease up on the masks and the social distancing by the fall. Of course, this all really depends on how things go with vaccination efforts and case loads. We heard just today that there's been a little bit of an uptick in cases on campus attributed to the spring break holiday. People traveled and then came back and brought the virus back with them. But DU has been excellent and proactive with its management of COVID. We pretty much right away had a whole office set up just to handle COVID. And we have been hosting mass vaccination events on campus since the vaccine has been available. And we've vaccinated, faculty and staff, and now we're starting to vaccinate students. We're also very committed to working with the community around us and vaccinating underserved communities. All right. Dan asked, do you have any opportunities with the military bands? Not directly, Dan. We do have we have the wind ensemble, of course, that you can audition for, and we have a pep band. It is on hold at the moment because of COVID, but Dan, I will also say that a good number of our faculty members have associations with military bands. They've played in those before, so there are those professional connections.
There we go. We've been contacted periodically by bands that are seeking auditions, and we always pass on that information. I mean, playing in military ensembles, they're really good groups, very, very good groups, and highly competitive. So when we do indeed become contacted by one, we pass on that information as an opportunity for our students.
Since we're coming to the end, I'm going to remind everybody that those response deadlines are coming up. If you're a graduate student, we want to hear from you by April 15th. That's the date by which we need to know your intention to enroll at DU or elsewhere. And for undergrads, that is May 1. So you have a little more time. April 15th for grads, May 1 for undergrads. If you know before then, please let us know. And we did this Q&A, but of course, as Angela mentioned, we are available all the time to answer your questions and help you make that decision as those deadlines approach.
I'm putting my email in the chat just in case you don't have it. Yeah, email me if you guys. I'll put the office phone number in there as well. If you guys have any final questions, we are here for you. Do not hesitate to reach out. So, okay. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to our wonderful faculty and students who have joined us today, and really great questions. Thank you so much to our attendees. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your night, and we hope to hear from you soon.